Belfast. If you block us, but no, aye.
So you made it home. You made it
I
home.
got home. I got home. You know, I got a couple of things this week. Let's see what I bought. You know, I like buying stuff like this. I like having these wee bits and pieces of it.
Is it something gimmicky? Is it something
No,
really
well, it kind
gimmicky?
of has a wee bit. No, it has a bit, and it's not.
Uh,
Do you know what that is? Medal. You are feeling sleepy, Justin. Well, don't need 8 days. You're always fucking sleepy. That is now it's solid silver. It's a Keeper of the Quaich medal. Do you know the ones up in Scotland?
I thought you got promoted.
No, no. I seen it. I seen it was at an auction, and I bought it. I thought, oh, that's a nice wee thing off as a wee sort of souvenir, sticking a thing. But yeah,
But that's highly sought after, surely.
well, it didn't cost me very much. I know that otherwise when I bought it. But
Right.
yeah, so I bought one of them this week. You know, but
Very good. Very good.
I was away. I was away today. We will talk about these later. Okay. Aye, we'll talk about these later. But I'm going to pour these out because I'm really looking forward to them. This is why I was running about, because I had to get all the way up to the Hinch Distillery today to get back home, to get back down, and to get back down into work. The time was kind of dead today.
All right. I thought it was quite busy, actually.
It wasn't. I thought it wasn't anywhere near as busy as it should be. Pour a wee drop of this one. We'll pour a wee drop of this one, because this one I want to leave out a bit. And we'll get back to these very shortly.
Oh, you're opening them live on camera. You
Oh,
haven't
yeah.
opened them.
No, I haven't opened that. Haven't time, Justin.
All right.
Go.
All right. Good.
You know what? Why is it whenever you go to do this and there's nobody looking, these things are dead easy, and never they are looking? It's like
I have the same with those French lollipops, you know, the French lollipops. I bought a load of packets from my nieces. My nieces, what they do is they hand them back to my mother and say, Granny, that's one that we can't open. In 2 seconds, give us another one. Because when you really want the lollipop, you can't get the bloody thing off, you know.
Justin, I would imagine there's no lollipop securing method that would be Justin proof. I think you would get through it no matter what it was.
I know, but the only trouble is the plastic doesn't taste nice if you eat it too. You know,
Justin, I don't think that would ever stop you, pal.
It does.
To be quite honest,
it does.
Oh,
it does.
right.
It does.
We'll get to these in a little bit, but I want to open them up because
God, there's a colour contrast between all three of them, isn't there?
Aye, we'll get to that a wee bit. We'll get to that because I want them to open up and breathe a wee bit before we start a wee sup. Now we have an interview coming up later on, but we'll run through some news first. Stuff that's been going on. What's been going on? By the way, evening everybody. I hope everybody. Who did you mug, Marty? Who did I mug? I didn't mug anybody. I was on an auction. Somebody's having a poor Christmas and had to sell off their Keepers of the Quaich medal. No, I like that kind of stuff.
I know. It's fabulous.
That's fabulous. So who all's in?
Thomas Jones is in. Patrick Mulkey's in. Whiskey Novice is in. He knows all about it. Yeah, I'm sure you do. Yeah. Anthony Sellett's there. Evening. Caden's there as well. Declan Boyle's in tonight. It's actually very busy tonight already. It's actually massively busy tonight already.
And there's Christopher Watt back in again. Good evening, guys. Missed a few weeks. Aye, but sure, you're always welcome, Chris. You know that, buddy. You know that.
You can always look it up on YouTube. You always find the old ones there on YouTube. I mean, there's a portfolio going back several years now, isn't it? 5 years that we've been doing this, have we?
It's 4.5, isn't it?
4.5.
Feels longer, but it's 4.5.
Feels longer. Stuck with me. What else have we got there? Rusby, and now you know why Tiny Tim has a bum leg. Marty been mucking the lads again. Yeah. Tiny Tim has a bum leg. Let me see. Linda Cox says hello. Christopher Watt says hello. Frank Hearn says hello. Peter Galbraith, there you go. Is on. Yes, looking good. Yeah.
All good.
And there, yes. They do look fabulous. They look fabulous.
They look fabulous.
Aye.
So evening, everybody. Evening, all one and all that kind of stuff. Now we do a bit of news first, and then we'll get round to talking about these, and then we do the interview.
we'll have half our interview tonight to come as well.
Right.
Actually, we managed to squeeze an interview out this week. I don't know how we managed it, but we did it. We did it.
Aye, aye, between one thing and another. Um, bit of news, First up is the rather wonderful Helen Mulholland has been selected as the new chair of the Irish Whisky Association. She was the deputy. James has moved out. He was James, our Doherty down Sleeve League. He is out. Helen got a promotion, so she's now chair of the Irish Whisky Association. Anyone, I'm sure you all probably know about Helen. I talk about her enough.
Fabulous, absolutely fabulous, Marty.
She's a talent, and humble and smart and kind and all that kind of stuff. She's a great girl. First woman master blender in Ireland. First woman that picked for the Whisky Hall of Fame. First woman that won the Irish Whisky Award, Irish Whisky Association Chairman Award for contribution to whisky. 30 odd years in the industry. Massively respected worldwide. Anybody who knows anybody about anybody that knows anything about whiskey and certainly knows her knows that she's fantastic, and her job is to basically try and protect the brand of the Irish Whisky Association, brand of Irish whiskey in its many forms, and no finer person for the job. Honestly, I can't speak highly enough of her. She's just a genius in her field. So yeah, good on Helen. And well, let's be honest, it's tricky times.
Yeah, exciting times. I was just about to say it. Exciting times. 2025 is going to be a
well. There's going to be. I think everybody sort of knows that there's been this massive upturn, and now there's probably a bit of a correction. Some things will be good, some things will be bad. You know, we've seen what's unfortunately happened to Waterford. Although hopefully, from what I'm hearing, it might come okay. Who knows? But I know one thing: Helen will be doing with her damnedest, their best to fulfill her role as chair. So yeah, good on her. I think the world of the woman. She's absolutely amazing. So yeah, and that is Irish Whisky Association have got themselves a new chairman.
Yep, very good.
And the world now has a new single malt definition, because we have the American single malt is now officially recognised.
Wow! How did they manage that?
Well, they've been officially recognised as a category. The US, the TTTB, and all them guys over there, Discus, and there's loads of acronyms for shit over in America. And I don't really, I know some of them, but I don't really.
NASA's about the only one we know, you know.
Aye, well, the Tobacco Tax and Trade Bureau, the Alcohol, Tobacco and Tax and Trade Bureau, has issued its final ruling establishing a new American single malt whiskey category. Now, there's a whole bunch of bluff and bump about that the key provisions: fermented mash for 100% malted barley produced in the United States. Note that the barley does not need to be produced in the US, just the mashing and subsequent production. Distillation proof of 180 or less, distilled in the same distillery in the United States, stored in used, charred, new, or uncharred new oak barrels with a 700 litre maximum capacity, only stored in the US. That's quite an interesting little thing. Stored in used, charred, new, or uncharred new oak. So they've done the Scottish, not the Irish version of that. No neutral spirits permitted, and no allowable colouring, flavouring, or blending materials are permitted except for caramel colouring disclosed on the label. So they have to tell you that they have put caramel colouring in it. So there you go. I see Jim said he didn't realise it wasn't a category already. They sounded this out about 2 years ago that it was going to be and it should be. I think that was when the whole application thing really got up and running, and it's finally been approved. So it'd be interesting to see what that does for the old bourbon cask industry, because they're already expensive enough. So if they've got the single malt, will the bourbon producers just use the bourbon and then just flip it over to using their own bourbon casks again and not bother selling them, because what are they going to do? You're going to have to use, their own as such. So yeah,
I see what you mean. That's
yeah.
yeah, because there's a time delay. So yeah,
So if they buy their new American oak casks, char them for bourbon, age the bourbon in it, and disgorge it, then they can put single malt into it, and they don't have to. They're not going to be running around trying to sell them. So it'll be interesting. They've been doing. Some of them have been doing that already.
Will this affect the supply of the barrels?
It could very well do. Yeah, it could. You could see it maybe going down partly down the route of the sort of sherry casks where you have bourbon seasoned casks and stuff. So who knows? I mean, all of this constantly just changing. So it.
Trump's no dozer, is he?
No, it's not. Did you see this week that John Sweeney, the Scottish First Minister, had a conversation with Donald Trump to try and see if they could get Scotch whisky exempt from the tariffs and all this kind of stuff? One slight thing. Sweeney endorsed Kamala, or what way is it he pronounces it? Kamala, whatever way it is.
He did not.
Wonder how that conversation's going to go.
Oh boy!
So I don't know. Trump's teetotal, but his mum's from Scotland, so you never know. Or was from Scotland.
Oh boy!
So yeah, I don't think they're going to be exempt from the tariffs. With the way he's talking about it,
no.
I don't know. I don't think he did it before. I'd imagine he'd probably do it again. Who knows? But it will be. It will come out in the wash.
Interesting times.
Interesting times, as always.
Yep.
Jim says, I can't see it changing things, to be honest. They've been making malt over there for years. If we do see an effect here, it'll take years. Yeah. I get, but I mean, all these little changes where, you're getting that category, and I know they've been making malt for you.
They might just say, well, why don't we stick with American single malt rather than Scottish single malt if it's going to be a lot cheaper anyway?
Well, you see, but I mean, all of this, change and so on, who knows where it's going to end up or what. I mean, it's always going to change and change and change anyway, but the fact that they've got their own definition now, American single malt, stamped, it'll be interesting. Again, if it starts to affect the supply of bourbon casks coming across, that could have an impact too. And who knows? But it is what it is.
You weren't on the motorway tonight, were you? In Scotland or anywhere?
No, one of my coaches. I'd love one of my coaches to get stopped and somebody to find £70,000 worth of whiskey on board. This was the news this evening. I saw this. It was stopped. 2 men arrested. Boxes of Johnny Cree whiskey, estimated to be worth £70,000 and believed to be stolen, were found when the lorry was searched. West Yorkshire's Rural Police and Union were carrying out a drink drive patrol on Saturday when they came across a suspicious lorry. The vehicle had early stopped. Failed to stop for offers and led to a brief chase. So they discovered this with £70,000 worth of whiskey on board, estimated street value. The whiskey is believed to be stolen, and there were no supporting documents. So there you go. Just before Christmas, somebody decided to off 70 grand's worth of whiskey and got nabbed for it.
Yeah, I know. I know. Just a random traffic stop, that, of course.
Yeah, well, sure, that's what it says. They done a wee quick chase on it. I don't know what that means. They get on a quick chase. Normally, if they're chasing after something, you don't get away.
But you can only go very fast in a lorry with £70,000 worth of Scotch whiskey in it, can you?
No. Normally, if they're giving chase, if anything goes wrong, they just helicopter, get the bird in the air, and that's you fucked. You're not going anywhere. You might as well just pull over because you can't get away. Because the helicopter just said, hello. Oh, I'm in my lorry doing a very speedy 55 through a 30. The thing just says, what if we go shake it off? I know. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, it's
they watch too much TV.
Yeah, well, that's that. Slow chases are bored. Yeah, except do you remember the one in Father Ted where Dougal was in the mount flow? That was a good one.
What is it saying?
Oh, aye. Jump and you said about making whiskey, and Jim says because they aren't very good at it
I
yet.
know,
That's
yeah, I know, I
no
know,
offense to
I
Americans.
know, I know.
No,
Tough.
not that much. And saying that, what do you call it? Jack Daniels single malt. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Where was it stolen from? Well, we're not really sure, Seamus, because it says on it that it is. They've
We
been
did
taken.
have a lot of whiskey stolen months ago, didn't we?
Oh, my! Oh, there's people stealing shit all the time, thieving bastards. But anyway, um, no, it doesn't say where it was stolen from. It just says that it is suspected to be stolen. And I'm going to say, if you've got £70,000 worth of whiskey and no delivery documents to it, and you've been chased by the police, suspicions may be aroused, Seamus. Suspicions may be aroused. You don't need to be Hercule Poirot to think, I think there's something ropey going on here. But who knows? Right, what were we saying here? Where was it stolen from? Ross, they should have drank the evidence. It would have been a smaller sentence. Fuck, Ross, you'd been doing well. I suppose the way prices have been going over the past while, 70 grand might not be that much. We'll talk about that in a wee minute.
All right.
Balcones single malt is also banging. Balcones was down there earlier on this year. There is some good releases from Balcones. Some not so great ones as well. But yeah, another Diageo brand these days. But Balcones is there are some other smaller craft ones that are pretty good, but they're kind of hard to get your hands on. So that's if you're over there for a period of time, which you might be in the future, Jim. Possibly in the future. There's a story to that, but I'll not tell you. But if you ever got allowed back in, then you might get stung. Aye. So as I say, the
there we go. The whiskey is believed to be stolen. There's no supporting documents. Yes, I know. Why did they run? Why did they
run? And let's be honest, whiskey's one of the most heavily regulated things you can possibly be moving about. So, if you don't have any documents, then you're kind of screwed anyway. But they picked up these guys just in time for Christmas. So probably about 90 grand worth of stuff. But by the time the police have taken their,
No,
their cut.
we're joking. We're joking. We're joking.
Yes. Oh no, we don't mean any corruption in the police.
We're joking. We're joking. We're joking. We're joking.
No.
Keir Starmer's getting very litigious. He always was. Yeah.
Prick. Anyway, now a couple of things, new releases this week. Titanic, new release. Down there. Pump House series. I wasn't 100% sure there was a Pump House series, but there you go. Pump House series 07 ST. It's 7-year-old, and I was questioning this the other day. What do you think ST stands for? I says, I don't know. And I was rattling my head to think shipping and transport or something. No, it's for stout. It's for stout. So it's 07 stout. Now, 1,000 bottles of this set up. $79.95. An Imperial Stout. It's a what is it called? Terra Nocturne Imperial Stout. I couldn't remember the second word there. So it's only 1,000 bottles of this. Comes in a nice presentation pack. You get the whiskey, you get a beer, so you can judge to see how much the Imperial Stout has done for it. Yeah, available online. You can pick it up over there.
That's a nice gift, isn't it?
Yeah, but that could very well be. Yeah. I mean, Damien was down. You can see. Now, Connor. This is the thing. It says which brewery. Of what it says in the notes is this limited edition includes a double distilled 7-year-old Irish single malt whiskey, finished in Terra Nocturne Imperial Stout cask, and a bottle of 375 millilitres Imperial Stout from our brewery. That's what it says. Can't remember. Yeah, so I don't know what they mean by our brewery. That's That's the thing. Now, so there you go. You can have a look over and see that if that's something that tickles your fancy. One that did tickle my fancy this week, certainly, was the release from Boan of the first, well, technically, I suppose maybe the second. Yeah, Connor, that's what it says, our brewery. I didn't realise they had a brewery, but there you go. So I maybe have to do a bit of investigating and find out what they mean by that. Careful. Boan Vintage Mash Bills Irish Whiskey Winter Solstice 2024. Now this, for anyone who's not aware, Fionnán O'Connor 4 years ago did a series of vintage mash bills where he had done research to find old mash bills, which he was doing for his PhD, and he got Boan to distill them, make them up, distill them. This is the first of the series that came in the packs, which, if anybody knows, I talk about these all the time. The packs with the new make in them, which you can pick up for 100 and some of them a couple of euro, and you pick them up for that. Now these are 120 euro a pop, and there's only 200 and how many was there? 70 bottles. So I had to pick them up because the whole project, love the whole project, love what Fionnán was doing. Really like to try all these, get them all set up, see what they're like, see how they've aged, and so on and so forth. So yeah, that would be fantastic. That'd be a nice one. PhD, pretty hard drinker. He is indeed. Yes, he is, Ross. Yes. Love Fionnán. It's brilliant. First 700ml and a €30 drop in price from the 3 preceding 500ml Solstice releases. Yeah, there was one of the other Solstice releases was a Preston, which is an old mash bill, but that's not one of the project things. But yeah, but this is one of the project first releases as it came in the pack. So this is the first chance to see how they've aged and what they're like. Now, mash bill for this is 30% malted, 60% unmalted, and 10% oats. So it's not PGI compliant. So it's a non-PGI compliant pot still, but it's a traditional one. It's pot still as we speak. Okay, it's not pot still as we speak. That will possibly change, but it's not a Irish pot still whiskey according to the technical file, but it's historically accurate, and it comes from an 1892 recipe, so it does. So if you've one of the tasting packs, you can open up the tasting pack, try it against this, and see how it's aged and all that kind of jazz. I genuinely love the project. Oats when you have them in sort of higher above the sort of 5% max you're allowed, it does really weird things. It's all like spicy strawberries and stuff. It's really fruity. It's really sort of candy.
They have learned all that over centuries, but to get to that level,
Well,
not to do that.
I was all kind of forgot about. That's the problem. It was forgot about for years because Irish distillers made it their way, and they were the only one making pot still at the time. So that's why the what you call it, technical file it's not really historically accurate in any way. But yeah, oat heavy stuff is very different. But it'll be really nice to see Connor what it's like once it's been in cask for a period of time. So look forward to that. Next up, Crawley have released their first release stuff, cask number 2. Now you'll be pleased to know that it comes in a little tweed box. What it says there on the link.
Why has that not changed?
I don't know, Justin. Again, limited to 270 bottles. A very special Cask 2 release presents an exclusive opportunity to own a piece of premium Irish whiskey history. The first 4-year-old Donegal distilled single malt in 180 years. Now, we have one little issue with this. It's 376 quid a bottle. And I know it's first release stuff, but it does seem a little on the excessive side. much more expensive than Ecklenville's, and so on. Yeah, it is a bit pricey. So yeah,
Very well presented, but Marty.
well, it's nice. It's nicely presented. Jim says tweed. It's a bit tweed. Yeah, it was funny. I was talking to Jim about this today. The Crawley Distillery, and it's done in Irish, and it's kind of, you get someone who doesn't speak Irish. They're from across the water, or from Scotland, or from the US and all. Crosstilly. And it's, no, it's Crawley. That's not what it says. No, yeah, no.
Sure, everybody's Crawley dolls.
There's not a Crawley doll in my house, and I would imagine there's in America. If you could find a Crawley doll in one in every 1,000 houses, you'd probably.
It would be. I know it would be a Barbie. I know it would be. Actually, somebody was telling me from the British Heart Foundation they got handed in a load of Barbies that were worth a fortune. Rare Barbies.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
really appropriate for the whiskey. On
Well, I'm just saying. We're talking about dolls. All right.
No, I mean, again, it's one of those things. It's you're sort of narrowing it down to a very niche market, and I don't think that's really where they want to be going.
Are you worried about Mattel associating their dolls with whiskey? Are you?
No,
and the lawyers getting you. You'll be skipped off the plane when you get to America.
No, I never mentioned dolls. It was you, because see, that's another thing. You're going to have to go. Oh no, but did you ever see the Crawley dolls? No. What were they? Well, the Crawley dolls were these wee dolls with wee red hats and all. It's made in the same place, so I've never seen them. Blah 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 blah. And suddenly you're in 10 minutes into a conversation going, no, but it's actually just pronounced Crawley. But it doesn't say that. Oh, fuck, right, dead on. Right. Anyway, over here, there's something else. You can buy that there. You can buy that.
All right.
And it just makes that little disconnect from people. I think it's okay whenever it's down to Geltac or something like that, where they're actually speaking it, but that's a different thing. Anyway, now, as Connor says, I hear that's bollocks. It's a bit pricey. A bit pricey. It is.
We concur.
We concur. Yes, we do indeed. Now, from being pricey, swing the other way. Went to meet the friend yesterday, and me and my Ernstwile colleague and friend Jim turned around and said, "You see Hinch are releasing some whiskey today?" And I said, "Oh, yeah, I'd seen there was something about it. I hadn't been busy all week, so I hadn't really saw what it was." And he said, "No, it hasn't been. I don't think it's been published up yet, but I got let it know." He said, "Well, I think there's something a bit odd, or something. It's a bit. I think I'm reading this right." And it was these 3 bottles. And what he read it out to me, and I was like, "What? Say that again." So what we have here are 3 distillers selected bottles, single cask, from Hinch's warehouses. And I couldn't really believe my ears, because we've got so conditioned to what we're paying for whiskey these days and so on and so forth, that it came as a bit sort of jaw-dropping. There's my thumb up again. I'll just kill that. So what we have here is the 3 distillers down at Hinch were allowed to go into the warehouse and pick out a cask for them to bottle up and sell. And I genuinely cannot believe the value for money that they're giving us. Not only are they giving us something that's been picked by their distillers, and congratulations on Hinch, by the way, for allowing the distillers the freedom to pick them and attributing the selections to them and allowing them to put their name on it and giving them the recognition of that, because that's important. Because what going forward, it tells you what direction they're going in, what they like themselves, what they rate, and all that. So all helps, and it familiarizes yourself with the brand, familiarizes yourself with the people down there. I don't think anybody would argue that Hinch opening during COVID and all that crap, and there seemed to be a bit of a confused message at the start, and there was changes of personnel and so on and so forth. And it was a hard start for them. And I think, don't think anybody would disagree with that. But they seem to have fought on through that. They have a great setup down there now. The place was always really nice. It was beautiful, but it just seems to have that tweak, that moved, right, get rid of that, start this. Just a slight rebrand, which I think it probably needed. And then they brought in, Will Stafford's down there now. And if this is the kind of thing they're going to be doing going forward, I said to Jim, they're going to make an awful lot of friends out of this. What we have here, we'll do this one first. This is, and it tells you all in the label. It puts dates and stuff on it. When it was, so this is a single malt cask in port pipe, filled on the 1st of the 6th, 2017, and bottled on the 10th of the 10th, 2024. So this is a 7-year-old, a single malt. 102 bottles are all there is out of this, because it tells you here, this is bottle number 18, and it's bottled at 56.7%. This was £50. Cask strength, single cask, all the detail on it, £50. We like this, but we're not finished by a long chalk. Then I'm sort of in two minds which one of these to do first, because then we have Jack's selection. Now this is a second fill ex-bourbon peated malt, distilled on the 27th of the 10th, 2001, bottled on the 11th of the 12th, 2024. This is bottle, where are we? Bottle number 8 of 211, and it's bottled at the unbelievably punchy 61.2,
Wow.
60.2.1%. Now, I can't say anything about this because I'm not really 100% sure. But I was told by someone who might be well known that it may taste very similar to their own distillate. You can read on that what you will, okay? I will just say that Hinch they were up and distilling at that point. Right? This is bottle number 8 of 211, okay? So that is £40, okay? 40. Remember, you pay alcohol on the tax, or you pay tax on the alcohol, should say. That's a bargain of any description. Never mind what it possibly may or may not be. And then we have this. Now, this is bottle number 7 of 304, or 340. This is a single malt Madeira cask, filled on the 30th of the 10th, 2002, and bottled on the 13th of the 12th, 2024. Bottled at 52.5%. This, again, can't confirm it 100%, is a 22-year-old single malt, what we would put this, from a County Antrim distillery. That is £90. A certain other County Antrim distillery, who we will name, Bushmills, are trying to sell a 25-year-old for £800. Their 21 standard range is £200 a bottle or thereabouts, anywhere from 160 upwards. Anybody who likes whiskey really should be going down to the distillery to pick these up. Jan and I have been talking about this for 2 days. And there's all the new releases, so everybody bringing out their own first releases and blah, 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 and all this. In 2 days, this is me and him have been talking about. I was getting people from England asking me, oh, can we go on and buy these online? And I was like, well, no, you have to go to the distillery. Oh, it's okay. Then they would get back to me. We went online and ended up buying a couple of the other ones, which are fantastically well priced as well. More of this kind of thing. A 22-year-old single cask, bottled at cask strength, blah blah blah, all numbered and selected by the with the distiller's name on it to tell you, yeah, I'd stand over this one. This is my pick. Fucking hell. I'm telling you guys, if you're interested in whiskey, get down and get them picked up because they'll not hang about for long. I went down today and ended up picking up 13 bottles. 13 bottles today. Not all of them for me, I have to say, but whenever my mates heard about some of these, go and get me one, get the thing. Get down and get these bought because they'll not hang about for very long. And anybody that knows anything about whiskey, a 22-year-old single cask, the 4-year-old. Okay, this is bottle number 8 of 211 of a one that was picked by Jake, and then the port pipe one picked by Emma. I mean, genuinely, seriously good value for money. Really, what lots of us have been looking for a period of time. We don't mind paying a bit for releases. We don't mind. I don't mind paying a little bit more. Certainly not for first releases. But if this is all of the pricing for Hinch stuff has always been really good. They've kept it really at a really good price. As it's coming in, the 5, the 15, there's cool range stuff. The lovely peated one that they have. Yeah, thanks. That's a nice wee Christmas present for us, guys. Thanks very much. And yeah, you're going to do really well with these. I'll tell you that now. I got you for Christmas.
Ross P. Murray, you remember telling me what you got for Christmas. There you go. Yes. That does look stunning. That does look stunning. Hand labeled bottles.
Hand labeled bottles. They've done the labels themselves. There's an awful lot to like with these 3 bottlings. And honestly, yeah, the labels look fantastic. They're handwritten. Their names, the guys that picked them are on them, and it's nice that they get the credit for it, and that it wasn't just. I don't mean this to be cheeky. That it wasn't just Will signing it off himself. That the other 2 got a thing. It is just fantastic, fantastic. Lovely, rich.
And when you head down there, you can go into that new Lidl at Carryduff as well.
You can go into their new restaurant, which I haven't eaten, but that'll be remedied in the not too distant future.
I think the lady that runs that restaurant opened the Lidl. She was one of that Great British Bake Off or Great British Menu winner.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. That needs a little bit of water and a little bit more time to just let that pull out. But these are fantastic releases. Fantastic. Seamus Tobin, honestly, it's very good. Yes, it's young, but then what do you expect? It's no shock. It's creamy and rich and sweet. I'd expect not massively peated, but still, for that price, yeah. That's peaty enough. So it is. 62.5%. Ain't nothing wrong with that at all. That is lovely. Jim, yeah, you're that is young, but it's got lovely mouthfeel to it already. Actually reminiscent of a. There's a Lafroiginess to it that I wasn't really expecting. It doesn't have the phenolic element of Lafroig, but there's a Lafroiginess to it of a good Lafroig. Well done. I take my hat off to them for that. As I say, get your arse down and get them bought because they'll not hang about for very long. Really, really, really good stuff. Now, we got caught up during the week with Sam down at the Black's Distillery. which had their first release, and they've done a double release at the same time. And well, we found out they must love red tape and paperwork. They must absolutely love it. But we got caught up with them during the week, recorded an interview. We're going to play out the interview. I'm going to have these and go to my bed because I'm knackered.
Working tomorrow.
I'm working again tomorrow, and I had to get up, drive all the way to Hinch, thinking the town would be busy, Belfast would be busy. I would get there and then get stuck in traffic on the way back in again. No, straight in. So I could probably lay in my bed for an extra half hour and been all right. But I wasn't to know that, and I didn't want my work colleagues flying without me. No. So yeah, I left early to get up there, get there in time. It opens at 10 o'clock to get these packed up because I really wanted to get my hands on these. So we're going to play the interview, and we will see you again next week, folks. We'll not see you at the end of the show.
All right.
All right, guys.
Enjoy this.
Bye.
Marty, why can we never get a trip down to all these lovely places like Kinsale? Come on now. Come on. I'm stuck in my villa here in Florida again.
Aye, terrible. Reason we can't get down it's because it's a bloody long way away from people. People think Ireland's this tiny little place. It's about 5.5 hours for me to get down to Kinsale, all the way from up on the north coast. But thanks to the wonderful technology, we don't have to travel down. We can get Sam from Black's Brewery and Distillery. I have to get that correct.
Yeah.
Down in Kinsale, he can come to us. Sam, how are you, my friend? All good?
All good. Yeah. Busy now. Christmas is looming. So it's all gone. Everything's gone a bit petong at this time of year, trying to get everything out and everything ready. But yeah, we've had an interesting week. We're delighted to be launching our own first releases of our own whiskey this week. We have a launch event on Thursday. So yep, we're delighted to finally have our own liquid in bottles and out available to the public.
It is, and it's the first flight. We'll talk about that in a little bit because that's kind of why I wanted to get caught up with you. Now, for anyone who doesn't know about Blacks, yours is a bit of a strange story, really. Sort of because you don't, it was kind of a hobby that you just took to the extreme, wasn't it? Would that be true enough?
Yeah, so I suppose it all started way back when my wife, Maud, who works with me in the business now, she bought me a homebrewing kit for Valentine's Day one year. And it was a very basic affair, kind of a plastic bucket and, almost like making soup. But I just really enjoyed it. I made great beer from the start, and I never made a bad beer. That's what I used
You must
to
be
say.
the only person that's ever said that, because most people create great laxatives to start with.
No, I got really into the whole kind of science of it and improving the flavour and everything. And this was a time when in Ireland there wasn't really any. There was a tiny bit of craft beer, maybe O'Hara's and a couple of others, but it was very much not everywhere mainstream. And trying to get a kind of a hoppy IPA style beer, there was probably Sierra Nevada. That was the only one that was, and it was just one flavor of Sierra Nevada. Whereas if you look now, it's crazy the amount of choice we have. So it was kind of make your own or go without, So that kind of got me going. And then obviously that got more serious with more and more serious equipment. And like most brewers, you kind of have this dream to open a brewery one day. And for me, that came around in 2013. So what were we, 11 years ago now? Started in our first location with a 2,000 litre brew kit, brewing a couple of times a week. And then in 2015, we added our first still, which was a hybrid column still for making gin. And at that time, getting the distillation license was quite tricky at that time. You had to kind of make a special case for having a still that was smaller. Our first still was only 500 litre capacity.
Yeah.
And getting whiskey that was pre-GI, so you could make a few bits. Like we did make poutine at the start, and then the GI kind of came in, and then you had to have at least 2 stills to make Irish whiskey, and it had to be copper still and all the other great and wonderful things that were in the GI. So that kind of put us back a little bit then until 2020 or 2019 when we purchased our 2 copper pot stills and started making whiskey on those then. And then just this year, only about 3 weeks ago, we've got a 3rd pot still in as well. which is the new big one, which is a 5,000 litre capacity wash still.
Okay.
So we have 5 stills at the moment on the premises. We have the hybrid column still, we have a gin still, which is also a copper still, and then we have 3 dedicated whiskey stills. So it means we can make rum, gin, whiskey all at once without a lot of complications with cleaning and all this kind of stuff. So
yeah, you seem to be on this arc. Start beer, then there's gin, all the way up, and now you've got up to whiskey. There's that sort of hierarchy of if you like, of different beverages.
Yeah, definitely. I suppose it was always the dream to push it as far as we could in terms of getting to whiskey, which I suppose is kind of the pinnacle of distilling in Ireland at the moment. It's been a hard slog because of the time it takes, obviously, with whiskey.
Yeah.
So the liquid we're releasing this week, we laid down December 2020, so it's 4 years ago. So it's we've got a lot of stuff in casks. So it's great to be able to start opening them up and picking out what we want to release and releasing things as they're ready to go,
Now, I know there's I know certainly in the north there's a quite a difficult legal requirement for being able to have a brewery and a distillery under one roof. Is that the same down south? Is that the same in the Republic?
It's 2 licenses, and we actually have a bar here on the premises as well. So we operate 3 licenses of revenue, but it's the same bond, so that's one less thing to worry about. And then we have obviously dedicated tanks for different things, and work streams for different things. It's the same brew house, which is kind of like the engine, where the malted barley goes in and becomes wash or becomes beer. That's the same. And then after that, they've kind of got different streams through different tanks. So I mean, it's good for it gives us a lot of crossovers and synergies between the 2 sides of the business in terms of staffing and energy use and equipment use, insurance and things like that. So obviously it's good to have, we think it's good to have both things together on one site. It gives you a chance to play around with beer and whiskey casks and whiskey and beer casks and things like that too,
You certainly look to be very innovative with some of the products you have. I mean, these just appeal to me. These look very festive. Rum up, apple, pineapple and coconut. And the old favorite up here, which is Yellow Man Honeycomb.
Yeah, the honeycomb actually is the most favorite rum up. That's the new product. It's only really launched in the last maybe 6 to 8 weeks. It's going out into trade a little bit, but the honeycomb is outstripping sales of the other 2 at the moment, and it just has this lovely, almost like Maltesery kind of, really kind of comforting, reminds you of being a child, kind of sweetie kind of thing. Right. And it just goes really well, just with Coke or in any kind of cocktail. So, the rums are fun. There's not a lot of people doing rum in Ireland. We've been doing it since 2014, 15, when we got the first still. We started making rum. So we've been developing it over the years. We have 5 different rums at the moment, and we have some kind of very old extra specials and stuff that is in cask that will come out sooner rather than later as well,
You guys must be ticking pretty much every alcoholic beverage box, right? Beer, IPAs, lager, blah blah blah, rum, poaching, now whiskey, etc. You must let's look through a book. Let's see what other ones are. Oh right, we'll do one of these.
Yeah, we do, and we have stuff that we do maybe white label for other people, and we have products that are in development that are kind of like ready to go, but you can't release too much at once. It becomes logistically really difficult, and you kind of overwhelm your distributors as well, with too many options. So so
you guys must love paperwork.
Yeah, not so much. The month end can be quite kind of complicated, trying to figure out where everything's gone and what was this and what was that, and
filling stuff in to keep you legally right, plus keeping logistics of where everything is. We'll do a rum up bottle, blah blah blah. It must be quite complicated.
Different bottle types is challenging, because you kind of make sure you have enough of each bottle and each stopper and each label and everything as well, and the boxes and everything's different. But it's nice to have a few different faces and a few different looks and feels to the products that we have as well. So it's not just one blanket look across the board.
Now, what is your background? Do you have a background in alcohol or drinks
Nope.
companies or anything like that?
No. So
Nothing at
I
all.
just started with the home brewing, and got more serious about it, and then did some courses in brewing and distilling, in advance of opening the business, and that's it really. Nothing really on that side. I was doing like medical device engineering, kind of paperwork engineering to a certain extent.
Mm-hmm.
So familiar with lots of paperwork and legislation and ISO audits and jumping through hoops and lots of paperwork, which is one whole side of it.
Yeah.
And then just kind of being handy and mechanically minded is the other side of it. Especially when you're starting out and your equipment's kind of, maybe not the best equipment in the world, it's what you can afford and things break on a regular basis. Now we have newer, shinier equipment, but things still break on a regular basis. I mean, you're putting stuff under a lot of pressure, a lot of heat and pressure and steam and things like that. So, yeah. So I suppose the background, it's more really the place I am in my head and the passion that I have for the industry and the products that kind of keeps me driving forwards with it.
Yeah. I mean, it must take a fair bit of chutzpah, I suppose, is maybe the word, to do this full time. It's a gamble. I mean, let's be honest, it is a gamble.
It definitely was a gamble, but I mean, we're 11 years in business now.
Yeah.
We have just last year built the place we're in at the moment, our new facility, and it's a place that we own. We're not renting it from somebody else. We've got great stability on. We can do things that we know will be here forever. And obviously adding the bar and the visitor experience and everything this year has been a challenge because it's all new. I've never run a pub. I've only ever worked in beer festivals and bars and things like that. Pubs maybe, but not to run one. So it's all a challenge, but it's I suppose everything's moving so fast, you don't really have time to sit back and worry too much.
No time to sit back and put the feet up. Now, here's a quick question: the relationship between brewing beer and distilling. Well, you've real hands-on knowledge of both of these. Now, making your wash and stuff is it much different making a wash for a whiskey than it is for making a beer, or is it basically the same, just with little tweaks? Or what way would you describe that?
So the start of the process is the same. So if we're making single malt wash versus an IPA, we'd mill the grain and we'd mill it to about the same consistency. That goes into the first step of the process. We add the hot water. We might add an enzyme if we were making a whiskey wash because we're trying to get more fermentability.
Yeah.
Where we wouldn't if we're making a beer. And then the amount of water, the ratio of water to grain in the mash could be a little bit different between beer and whiskey, but it's the same physical tank in the brew house, and it's the same duration of time. And then if it's going to wash, I suppose that'll be the first brew of the day, we'll say. If that's going to wash, then it just gets aerated with oxygen. It goes over into the fermenter and we pitch yeast, Going to beer, it gets boiled to sterilize it, and we add hops. And then the hops give the bitterness and kind of balance the sweetness of the beer. And then it goes through another whirlpool step where we add more hops and we try and clarify the wort a little bit more before it goes to the fermenter. But then it's oxygenated, goes to the fermenter, we pitch yeast. And then
different types of yeast.
Yeah, well, we use with the whiskey, we've got a lot of different recipes, and some of them would be recipes that play with different yeasts. So it could be the classic distiller's yeast. It could be a combination of brewer's yeast and distiller's yeast. It could be a champagne yeast or a wine yeast combined with the distiller's yeast. So we've got lots of different things in cask coming through, trying to play with some of those elements and see how things are. With the beers, depending on the beer, it could be different. A stout recipe could have a different yeast to an IPA, or a hazy beer would have a different yeast to a clear beer, or a lager is a completely different yeast.
Yeah.
So it's not super different. It's a bit of a longer day with brewing because you're boiling. So you have your 60 minutes or 90 minutes of boiling. So we'd normally do 2 or 3 beer runs in the day, whereas with the distilling, it's a bit quicker. and we can do more runs in one day. And what we tend to do is make wash for distillation, maybe for a week or 2 weeks, and then fill up all our tanks, and then get on with making beer, and be distilling at the same time with the wash that we made previously.
You sound like you're a very, very, very busy man. Where do you find the time to get the tours around the place?
Well, that's not my job. Someone else does the tours. So the tours, they kind of we have a walkway. You can probably see it here.
Yeah.
So the public comes in, they come into the bar where I'm sitting at the moment, and then they go through the process with the tour guide, and they explain kind of the history of the building, the history of blacks, and what we've been doing for the last 11 years. And then they talk through the brewing process, the distilling process, and then there's actually a tasting room at the end where you get to have a taste of the products.
Now, because I'm thinking if you're going to start doing the talk through everything you do, you'd be there for how long does the tour last? About 3 hours, because we do the beer, we do the rum.
There's one tour guide that could make it a 3-hour tour for sure.
Well, I know tour guides that can make them 3 hours. Not there. No,
sometimes we have a big group in and we want them to get into the bar, and we're like, make this a quick one, and then an hour later you're like, where is he? He's only halfway up the ramp. What we do is it's the same tour essentially, but then when you get to the tasting room, you can pick if you want to do a beer tasting, a rum tasting, a whiskey tasting, a gin, or a combination of different things, which is good if you're traveling with 3 or 4 people and one person's really into rum, one person's into whiskey, so you can come as a group, do the tour together, and then have your different tasting part. In the shop.
Having that big a selection of stuff that you've actually made, that is.
I mean, the bar we have
real separate tasting flight.
The bar here is fully stocked. We only have we only buy in wine and cider from a company that we know. So everything else we make ourselves. Yeah,
and now you are down in Kinsale. It is a stunning little place. I mean, it's not very big. For anyone who hasn't been to Kinsale, it's like a seaside town with all these beautiful painted, pastel coloured houses. When was I down there? April. It is a beautiful little part of the world. But again, it's down in that southwest area where the weather's coming in off the Atlantic. Do you think you benefit from that?
In terms of maturation, probably. In terms of sitting outside and having a beer, probably not. We had a challenging summer last year, weather-wise. So we actually put up a new kind of glass box, essentially, outside on our terrace that went up a couple of weeks ago, which should keep the wind off and the rain off, because we couldn't really even book events because 2 days out they would say, "Oh, there's actually another storm coming."
Another one.
Enjoy the weather. I mean, it's good for a process. We have like a fairly consistent wind here, which means that our cooling tower, which recirculates the water through the stills, the cooling tower through the columns on the stills, works really efficiently here because there's always this kind of nice breeze that's cooling the water as it flows through the tower. So that's working great. And we're in we're right by the water. So we're just kind of overlooking, it'd be the Bandon estuary as the river comes into Kinsale Harbour. So very picturesque location, and nothing else around really. There's no housing developments or anywhere too close to here, so we're pretty peaceful.
It's a beautiful little place, it really is. I was down in Cork, and then I took a jaunt down to Kinsale for a bite of something to eat. I can't remember the name of the place I ate in, but it was rather nice. I remember being very impressed. Now, getting onto your whiskey, because you have your first flight. Your logo's an eagle.
Yeah, it's a crow, actually.
A crow, sorry.
Yeah, it depends where you're from. If you're selling into Saudi Arabia, it's always an eagle.
Why a crow?
I suppose my wife's maiden name is Crowley, so she's from Clonakilty up the road, so she's Crowley or Crowley, but Crowley really where they come from. So it was just a nice way to kind of integrate a little bit of her story into the Black's name as well, which is obviously my surname.
Yeah.
And it's difficult to come up with a logo when you're starting. You kind of need something to go with.
Of course. Now, you guys are the first legal whiskey made in Kinsale.
Sure. Yeah.
Correct in
First
saying
whiskey
this?
distilled here. Yeah.
And you have 2 bottles out. So you've done
We
a
do.
launch of your single malt and your pot still. Now,
Yep.
the single malt is port cask, and the pot still's Oloroso. Yeah, pot still's Oloroso.
Yeah,
And they're
that's it. So the pot still, I have a bottle here. You can probably see pictures of it. So
excellent.
so they're both distilled within a couple of weeks of each other. They were both, so I think probably 2 weeks difference between them. Both December 2020. And when we were picking what we wanted to do for our first release, we were kind of saying, do we want to be like more pot still, or do you want to be more single malt? So we pulled a load of casks. We actually had a load of guys in from the Cork Whisky Society to do a tasting here in the summer, and they got to try samples of a bunch of different things. And these two really stood out as the favorites. In the end, we decided, look, we'll just go with both and release the two of them together as a nice kind of, a twin pair. So one kind of silver, one kind of coppery gold, a single malt and a pot still. And then the two different casks, the port cask, really fantastic with the single malt whiskey and the Oloroso sherry. I mean, and it's 100%. It's not a finish, it's been there from the start. So you can see the color is amazing on them as well, And I mean, what we've always done since we've started is we filled expensive casks with expensive whiskey. So we have lots of interesting different casks from around the world with single malt, and then pot still, and a few different recipes, as I said, with a few different tweaks and changes. So we'll have a lot of variety of things coming down the road, and a lot of full cask finishes in unusual, more expensive types of casks.
Yeah. Now going forward, because I mean, first releases are, I say this all the time. First releases are your sort of, your firstborn. They're the statement pieces, and then after that, your second releases are actually the ones that people buy more to drink. The first release, people like to have them and set them up. I certainly like having first releases as a collectible.
Sure. Yeah, definitely.
And that's just the way of the world. But your second releases, are you going to be doing blends going forward, or are you going to stick to doing like single cask releases because on scale or whatever? What way do you see yourself going forward?
Yeah, I mean, well, we already, we have some whiskey products in the market that are sourced whiskey blends. We don't have grain distillation here, so we'll always be buying grain in for any blends that we do want to do.
Yeah.
I suppose we have quite a lot of interesting single casks, or maybe 2 or 3 of a cask that we would like to see how they develop. And I have probably the next couple of releases lined up, and there'll be kind of small batch, maybe 1-2 casks of something interesting. Whether it comes out at 44% or 43% or cask strength, we'll figure that out when we get into kind of tasting and figuring out the exactly what we want to put out there. The whiskies that we have in our Maverick range currently, our own liquid will start to replace malt that we were buying in from other places into those. So we'll only be bringing in the grain element, which is normal enough for a distillery like us.
Yeah.
But I suppose there's a bit of figuring out to do. It's been kind of what do we do? What's next? It's kind of a bit of a brainstorm, and you can say, oh yeah, let's do a bourbon, single malt, and then you go and pull a cask, and you're like, probably do another 3 months. So
yeah.
Figure out a little bit as you go as well, And then it's got really complicated as well with approvals on labels and things that can take months and months and months now. So you can't be quite as dynamic as you'd like to be, certainly as well,
Yeah. No, well, I mean, regulations, red tape. I mean, you guys seem to enjoy it. the different things you're doing. Now, your pot still. I know people don't like to give away recipes, but is it a high unmalted content, because that has a huge
yes
huge effect.
Yeah, it's about it's just under 30%. So, and we have oats, wheat, rye, more oats than wheat, more wheat than rye. So that's kind of the breakdown. That's our kind of P1 recipe.
Okay.
And then we have ones that are completely outside the rules on the GI in terms of the percentages. So there'd be Irish whiskey. They couldn't be sold as pot still under the current rules. We have some really weird and wonderful ones that are based around brewing recipes. So we have one that we call Choc Pot, which is like a stout recipe that we use for making a stout beer, which is a World's End is the name of the beer. It's a big imperial chocolate stout. And that's phenomenal stuff. Again, outside of the GI. But amazing new make, like deliciously like chocolate milk new make. And then we're putting it into casks that'll give a really good, like an stout cask that'll give a really good finished product. So they're a bit young because we were doing them, maybe 2 years ago, even more like 2 years ago. So they've still got at least a year to go.
Yeah.
So they could be in the next couple of years. We'll see some of those coming out. But there's been some, like when we're pulling cast samples, there's some really interesting and exciting stuff coming true, you know?
Yeah. I mean, with all you guys doing all of this different stuff, I mean, you do have a fairly big palette that you can paint with, you know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, there is so many things you can do. And because I suppose we have a lot of different specialty malts on site anyway for making beer, you can, look at the palette and say, well, there's a little bit of this left, there's a little bit of that left, let's do, a couple of runs and a couple of distillations.
Run it through the still and see how we got on.
And see what it's like. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, loads of stuff has been happy accidents, things that have I just take a chance and see what happens,
Yeah, well, you can kind of figure out in your head what the ingredients are going to do to the wash.
Yeah,
and if the wash tastes really good, it's very hard for the new egg not to taste really good as well, And then if the new egg tastes good, the whiskey should taste good. So that's kind of our philosophy. We never really. If something doesn't taste good, it doesn't get as far as a cask, Well,
I think the thing about it is that philosophy. If you do everything right, you do everything as best you can. It can't really go wrong, I mean, you'll always
it can do if the cask leak.
Well, that's a slightly separate. That's a physical impediment. No, but I mean, the thing is, it's funny. I was talking to someone the other day, and I said to them, if you're making a whiskey right, about a quarter of the people that try it should probably go, I don't really like that. Which tells you that it's got loads of flavour. Because if it's got loads of flavour, certain people just won't like it.
Not everybody likes everything all the time.
Not everybody likes everything. Yeah, so a lot of the big guys now seem to be going down we'll just keep it as anemic as possible, and that way people can't get offended and may appeal to everybody. What they seem to not be getting is that you're not going to offend anybody, but the actual whiskey guys, the spirit guys, are kind of going, that's nowhere near as good as it used to be. And you're sort of putting them all off.
And simplified.
Yeah, just simplify it, make it as bland as possible, and that way you don't offend anybody. So a good whiskey, about a quarter of the people that taste it should be going, nah, I'm not really sure about that, because it has plenty of flavour, and that should put people off. And majority of people like it. And some people just go, no, I preferred that one to that one. And other guys go, no, I like that one to that one. And that tells me that you're putting flavour into it,
No, I definitely agree with that. And I suppose we're in the same industry as the big guys, but we're kind of at a very different end of the same industry.
Exactly.
We don't need everybody to like things we do because we could never make enough for everybody anyway. So,
but that's it. That's to me. That's if you can do it where you a quarter of the people aren't sure about it or don't particularly like it, you're telling you that you're doing something right, because you're putting enough flavour in it that you do turn some people off, Now, not talking about putting people off, I want to talk quickly about your first flight, because it's a 2-set combination. It's available on your website for pre-order, isn't it? Pre-order?
It's available for it's pre-order. We have stuff shipping. Yeah, so it's like Thursday is the launch party. We have an event on here in Fishy in Kinsale, a tasting event, and then bottles will start shipping. We're kind of using a different fulfillment crowd, but they'll start sending them out Thursday. So people should have them by Friday. Friday if you order now.
Excellent.
Days. So
I have my orders are in. My orders are in.
Very good.
Oh yeah. I'm getting them shipped to a friend's house in Dublin because you don't deliver. You don't send up to the UK. You don't send up north or across the water, do you?
No, that's something that we struggle with a little bit.
Yeah,
I
unfortunately.
know we were using another crowd previously to kind of do that for some of our products, but they kind of have to have them in their stock, and then they go out from their stock.
Yeah.
So it might be that the anyone that's looking for it internationally, that these will appear in another store, Irish Malt or one of those stores that can do shipping to the US, Europe, and the UK and Northern Ireland as well. So I suppose, we don't really have the technical ability to do it. I'm sure we can do it. I just haven't been able to figure it out.
I'm sure there's some
with your paperwork expertise. I'm sure you will eventually.
Yeah, it's evading my knowledge somehow. But
now, how many bottles is there in the first flight collection?
So 560 was the total yield for both of them, and we're releasing 400, and we're going to keep some back for our own things.
Yeah,
and we want to have some stock for tours, for tastings in tours. Throughout the summer next year as well. So they're numbered, one of 560 or two of 560 or whatever number you get. There'll be we're going to sell 400 out.
So the 400 released, they are available to buy now. You'll be getting, if you buy them now, you get them before Christmas.
Oh yeah, sure.
Long before Christmas. So there you go. Get on the first flight. I'm really looking forward to getting my bottles up here. And
they're available individually or as the pack. They're a little bit cheaper if you buy the two together.
Yeah.
And you get like a kind of collector's kind of copper coaster thing as well. The reason we put the singles up is because some people, we have a cask club. Obviously, we have like a founders club with casks.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of those people have a sherry cask or they have a port cask, and they're like, I really want to know what it tastes like because mine will be ready in a year or 2 years or 3 years time.
Yeah.
So, we said, we'll make them available as individuals and as a kind of a pack together as well.
Yeah.
So, but from the sales, the pre-orders I've seen coming in, it's mostly just people are mostly buying the packs anyway.
Yeah, I think people just like. I mean, I like collecting the first release bottles. That's the ones I really like to get because they are sort of people planting their flag. This is our own spirit. What's it like, and so on. And
definitely.
It's a nice thing. It's a nice thing.
And the boxes came in. The boxes that we had in those photos weren't the final boxes. So we got the final boxes in. They have like a 3D kind of effect on the.
Oh, right, like hologram type thing.
I like that. It's
like I don't know how to describe it. It's embossed or debossed kind of effect on the bird. The one that I only had samples for those photos, but anyway, I said I'll put them up.
Yeah, put them up. Sam, it's great talking to you, buddy. I wish you all the success in the world, and I'm very much looking forward to getting my hands on my bottles as the friends picking them up for me, so I'll get them up hopefully before Christmas. Fingers crossed.
Oh, you definitely, I'm sure.
Oh no, but I have to nip to get them. But I'm sure that's not the biggest thing in the world. But other than that, wish you all the best. If we're ever get a wee run down to Kinsale, Justin, I'll let you take me into the bar and we can go for something to eat.
Can I stay over? It's a long way to go. It's a long way to go one day.
We'll have to at some point.
Loads of accommodation in Kinsale, but nothing at the distillery.
Right. Okay.
That's a sleeping bag then, Justin. That's a sleeping bag for you.
Kept in the car. All right.
Sam, great talking to you, buddy, and all the best. And take care. Catch up with you again soon.
Perfect. Thanks very much, guys. It's been a pleasure.